What's going on, everybody? It is Juan from Raven Drone Solutions here with another video. I apologize, it's been a while, but I've been extremely busy the last month, basically. So in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about what to do when you're thinking about hiring a drone pilot or a drone service provider. Now, this video is for business owners or just businesses, as well as pilots that want to know like really what goes into hiring one of them so they can actually do what's necessary to win contracts and win jobs. So if that sounds interesting, let's get right to it. I've been in the drone industry for a little over a year now, and I've seen a lot of different things. I've seen many companies that really do the right thing and they hire pilots the right way. I've seen other companies that really don't do any due diligence and they hire just about anybody, and the result speaks for themselves. A lot of times, there's accidents, there's scandals, there's all kinds of things that happen. And while the drone industry is still quite young, and sometimes the laws and the rules can be a little bit ambiguous because a lot of people interpret things differently. And I mean, even for something as simple as flying over people, there was a big debate on what's allowed and what isn't. I mean, to me, it's like if you're hovering directly over people, that's not something you should be doing. But I talked to some people about this, and they're like, no, that looks fine. I'm like, how is this fine? So you got to be very careful who you hire, especially as a business. You need to be very careful what kind of pilot you're hiring. So I hope this video sheds a little bit of light on that and what you should watch out for. And hopefully this helps you as a business or as a pilot make the right decision and guide you in the right direction. All right, first and foremost, and this really goes without saying, but you would be surprised how often I've seen this. Make sure you hire a pilot or a drone service provider that is licensed. According to the FAA, you cannot fly a drone for any commercial reason without a license. You can't do that. That is against the law. Now, whether or not somebody's going to do something about it, that is a whole different ballgame. I've heard of many stories of people getting away with all of this kind of stuff. And I've also heard many stories of people that got arrested or they got fined like an astronomical amount of money for hiring a pilot that isn't licensed. So just, guys, it's really not that difficult. It's not that difficult to find a pilot with a license. Believe me, licenses are not that difficult to get. And to me, the way I look at it is, if I'm looking for a drone service provider or a pilot or whatever, and they're not licensed, that to me makes me question their ability to do pretty much anything, because a license is not that difficult. And for me, I would want somebody that's actually licensed and that more or less knows what they're doing and knows the guidelines, rather than somebody that doesn't. It's like you're not going to hire a truck driver to deliver any cargo, even if it's within the city, if they're not licensed with those kind of vehicles, because those vehicles are quite different than a regular car. So that's just the way I look at it, and it's a no-brainer. Okay, and the other thing is, it's going to save you a lot of headaches. It's going to save you a lot of problems down the road. You can always, if you're a business owner or if you're just a business and you need a drone pilot to do work, or even you don't have to be a business. Let's just say you're an individual, you're a realtor, whatever the case might be, and you want to have a pilot do some work for you, just ask, can I please see your license? Or if you contact a drone service provider company, just ask them, are your pilots licensed? And before they come on site, can they please show me their license? You can do that, okay? And if you're not comfortable, if they say no, they're not licensed, or no, you can't see the licenses, then look for somebody else, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and you just don't want that to happen. Next thing, make sure you know the type of work that needs to be done. Here's the thing. Having a drone is not enough. Just because somebody has a drone does not mean that they can do the actual job. Okay, so let me explain. If you require, let's just say you're a realtor. I'm using real estate because it's kind of like the most common one. But if you're a real estate agent and you want somebody to do a certain kind of work, well, make sure you know exactly what they want, what you want them to do. Because, for example, if you just want basic pictures, well, they need to know that. If you want some videos, or if you want internal videos, like let's just say you want an FPV shot or whatever the case may be, you got to tell them, because just because they have a drone does not mean that they're able to do that. Also, depending on the skill of the pilot. For me, I've done work all over the place, so I have a lot of different. I have a lot of different experiences in whether it's tall buildings, sky rises, even just single family homes, apartments, whatever the case might be. But I need to know exactly what the person wants for me to actually fulfill whatever they want me to do and get paid for it. So make sure you know the exact kind of work, whether you want to do inspections, 3D modeling, LiDAR mapping, motion picture, whatever the case might be. Make sure you know exactly what you want them to do, because that will narrow down a lot of potential candidates that you might have for a certain kind of job. And going along with that, make sure you seek out pilots that are skilled in the type of job you want them to do. Like I said, just because you have a drone doesn't mean anything, okay? I can have an amazing drone, but if it's not cut out for the type of job that you need me to do, then the drone is not cut out for it, okay? I've seen this happen many times where people want a certain kind of work done. I'm like, well, this drone is not equipped for that kind of stuff. And sometimes, okay, well, I don't have that skill set. Maybe you should go to somebody else. Maybe you should go to another pilot that has this skill set. This is very important because you want to get what you paid for. And if you hire a pilot to do something that they're not capable of doing, well, then that's just a waste of their time and your time. So make sure you know exactly what you need them to do, and make sure you seek out the right pilot. I always say, do not wait until the last minute to find a pilot, because I'm telling you, this is going to be a massive headache. I have come across many people that they don't know what they want, or they're very vague about it, and then they don't seek out the right pilot, or they just have the wrong expectation, and then when you deliver the product, they're not very happy with it. Okay, I've had this happen to me a few times, and I'm like, well, you didn't tell me what you wanted. You just said, have at it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do what I think is right, and I'm going to do according to what I told you, but if you didn't let me know, you didn't let me know. So make sure you know exactly what you want, and make sure you seek out the right pilot, because I'm telling you, just because you have a drone doesn't mean anything. A Nevada is not going to do the same thing as an Air 2S. An Air 2S is not going to do the same thing as a Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced. A Phantom 4 drone is not going to do the same thing as a Matrice 300. So just make sure you understand this. I always say, consult the experts. Don't just assume things. If you're going to hire a pilot, make sure that they know what they're doing, because this is going to save you a massive headache. Next, make sure the pilot or the drone service provider company has insurance. This is very important, okay? Very, very, very important. I'm telling you, accidents happen all the time, okay? There's a lot of things that can affect the flight of a drone. There's a lot of things that can happen. I'm telling you, every pilot that I know that has done this long enough has crashed at least a few times. I know I've crashed a few drones. Any pilot that says that they've never crashed either is lying, or they don't fly nearly enough, or they're just an anomaly, which is like the 0.00001% of drone pilots. I'm telling you, all pilots crash at some point, especially when you're getting into the weeds of things. You're getting very close because you want to get the right shots, or every pilot has to take a certain measure of risk. I don't care who you are. Every pilot has to do it, and the more you fly, the more environments you're in, the higher chance that you're going to crash at some point. So just make sure that you hire a pilot that has insurance, because I'm telling you, things happen. We're in a very litigious society here in the United States. Just everybody wants a piece of your action. You can crash, you can hit something, hit somebody, whatever. Some people exaggerate it, and then before you know it, you're getting sued, and you're getting, just drained, financially. So just get the insurance. It's really not that difficult. I'm sorry, don't get the insurance. Have them get the insurance, because they're the pilot, and just make sure that you're all covered. And going along with that, make sure you seek out pilots that are skilled in the type of job you want them to do. Like I said, just because you have a drone doesn't mean anything, okay? I can have an amazing drone, but if it's not cut out for the type of job that you need me to do, then the drone is not cut out for it, okay? I've seen this happen many times where people want a certain kind of work done. I'm like, well, this drone is not equipped for that kind of stuff. And sometimes, okay, well, I don't have that skill set. You know, maybe you should go to somebody else. Maybe you should go to another pilot that has this skill set. This is very important because you want to get what you paid for. And if you hire a pilot to do something that they're not capable of doing, well, then that's just a waste of their time and your time. So make sure you know exactly what you need them to do, and make sure you seek out the right pilot. I always say, do not wait until the last minute to find a pilot, because I'm telling you, this is going to be a massive headache. I have come across many people that they don't know what they want, or they're very vague about it, and then they don't seek out the right pilot, or they just have the wrong expectation, and then when you deliver the product, they're not very happy with it. Okay, I've had this happen to me a few times, and I'm like, well, you didn't tell me what you wanted. You just said, have at it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do what I think is right, and I'm going to do according to what I told you, but if you didn't let me know, you didn't let me know. So make sure you know exactly what you want, and make sure you seek out the right pilot, because I'm telling you, just because you have a drone doesn't mean anything. A Nevada is not going to do the same thing as an Air 2S. An Air 2S is not going to do the same thing as a Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced. A Phantom 4 drone is not going to do the same thing as a Matrice 300. So just make sure you understand this. I always say, consult the experts. Don't just assume things. If you're going to hire a pilot, make sure that they know what they're doing, because this is going to save you a massive headache. Next, make sure the pilot or the drone service provider company has insurance. This is very important, okay? Very, very, very important. I'm telling you, accidents happen all the time, okay? There's a lot of things that can affect the flight of a drone. There's a lot of things that can happen. I'm telling you, every pilot that I know that has done this long enough has crashed at least a few times. I know I've crashed a few drones. Any pilot that says that they've never crashed either is lying, or they don't fly nearly enough, or they're just an anomaly, which is like the 0.00001% of drone pilots. I'm telling you, all pilots crash at some point, especially when you're getting into the weeds of things. You're getting very close because you want to get the right shots, or every pilot has to take a certain measure of risk. I don't care who you are. Every pilot has to do it, and the more you fly, the more environments you're in, the higher chance that you're going to crash at some point. So just make sure that you hire a pilot that has insurance, because I'm telling you, things happen. We're in a very litigious society here in the United States. Just everybody wants a piece of your action. You can crash, you can hit something, hit somebody, whatever. Some people exaggerate it, and then before you know it, you're getting sued, and you're getting, just drained, financially. So just get the insurance. It's really not that difficult. I'm sorry, don't get the insurance. Have them get the insurance, because they're the pilot, and just make sure that you're all covered. The next thing, make sure you know the exact scope of work that you need and the deliverables that you need. So let me explain. The deliverables is the product that you're expecting, okay? Whether it's just basic raw pictures and videos, or do you need something edited? Do you need LiDAR mapping? Do you need 3D modeling? Do you need like a thermal report with like all the ranges and stuff like that? Do you need inspections done? Whatever the case might be, make sure you know what you need, because one of the most frustrating things as a pilot is when you show up on site and the person does not know anything of what they require. And I'm like, well, listen, I don't know what you want. I mean, I might have some idea. I can help you out a little bit, but if I don't know what you want or what you require, then how am I going to know how to do it? Okay. So, for example, I've done a lot of real estate. I've done some other just video production stuff. I've done a lot of inspections, mostly for cell towers. And for me, it's like, okay, what is it that they need, and how do they want me to do it? For example, when I'm doing cell tower inspection, there is a certain way of capturing the data so that they can render it into the 3D model and they can do the inspections properly. That is not the same as doing a video production at all. Like that's a completely different ballgame. If I'm doing thermal imaging or whatever the case might be, completely different. So you have to know exactly what you require, and make sure you tell the pilot, this is exactly what you need. And if you're a pilot, you need to ask the questions as well. Like, okay, well, what's the scope of work? Because if you need me for one day, okay, well, what do you expect from me in this one day? Or if you need multiple days, okay, well, what do you need in these multiple days? I've had people reach out to me and say, look, I want you to do I want to do a music video, I want you to do this and that. I'm like, okay, well, how long do you need me for? Oh, I only need you for an hour. I'm like, you're not going to need me for just 1 hour. It's going to take a lot longer than that. A lot of times people don't know this. A lot of times people think that all you're doing is throwing the drone in the air and that's it. Like, that's all you're doing. I'm like, well, no, there's a lot more that goes into that. And then on top of that, you have the post-processing, you have all these other things. There's a lot more to it than most people think. And it can be very frustrating as a drone operator when you have to explain this to people, but it is what it is. But look, if you need to hire a drone service provider or a drone pilot, just make sure you know exactly the scope of work and the deliverables that you need, and it will make it a lot easier for everybody. Now, next up, and this is in relation to the deliverables that you need, make sure you have a way of receiving them. I made this mistake myself a few times where people said, look, I want this, I want this. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I do the mission, and I'm like, oh, wait, how do I deliver this to you? Whether it's Dropbox or Google Files, whatever the case might be. And I'm like, oh, crap, how do I deliver this to you? Make sure you have a surefire way of receiving those deliverables, whether it's Dropbox or any other kind of software, whatever the case might be, because coming from as a drone pilot, the amount of data that you have to capture pretty much anytime you're on site, takes up a lot of your memory and stuff like that. And for me, I need to get rid of it as soon as possible. I need to deliver it and get rid of it because I can't have all these extra things there. And so for me, I need to make sure that you have, like, as a customer, you have a surefire way of receiving those deliverables, so that way you can get them and I can get paid. So that's very important. So make sure you understand this before you even think of hiring a drone pilot. All right, the next thing, and this is one thing that is a very touchy subject for a lot of people, but make sure the drone service provider or the pilot is charging the right amount of money for what you want, and make sure you're willing to pay the right amount of money. Okay, let me explain, okay, because this is one of the most thought about topics on earth when it comes to the drone industry. A lot of people think that just flying a drone and stuff like that it's cheap, it's easy, and that you can pay next to nothing. Well, here's the thing. As a drone pilot and as a business owner, anytime I go out of my apartment, anytime I get out of the office to go fly, I need to make sure that I'm making a good amount of money. The reason for that, apart from just the obvious, I gotta pay myself and just be able to live, is the fact that, well, I also have to cover all my operating costs, which isn't always cheap. I gotta cover gas, tolls, equipment, drone, insurance, and also just my time, just to be able to leave and do the job and come back and spend time in the office doing post-processing and all that stuff. That all takes time. Even for something as simple as a very basic real estate mission, it's not just going out there and flying it, it's all the other stuff you gotta do after that. So, and I know because one thing I've noticed with a lot of realtors, and I apologize if you're a realtor and you're watching this, but a lot of realtors are massive penny pinchers. I've had many realtors that they try to undercut every little thing. I had one realtor, he was selling a $9 million property in Sunny Isles, this apartment, really beautiful apartment in Sunny Isles Beach. And the dude was penny pinching every little thing. I'm like, dude, if you want all this, you need to pay the right amount of money. If you're not willing to do that, then you're only going to get X amount. I had to be very firm with him in this regard. And it happens all the time. And I've had people saying, well, look, I want you to do a yacht party, and can you do it for $100? I'm like, hell no, I'm not doing it for $100. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. If we're out in the water, well, I'm flying over water. If the drone falls in the water, well, that's it. The drone's gone. If it's at a yacht party, well, there's people. That means more risk. I got to take the drone out, I got to fly it, and it has to take off and land safely. And the takeoff and landing are some of the most dangerous things that you can do because just a lot of things that can happen. So no, $100 does not cover anything. $100 just covers me just not even showing up. So you guys have to understand this, and especially when you're looking on hiring a pilot, make sure that they charge properly. Because here's the thing: if you see that a pilot charges next to nothing, either they don't do this very often. Okay, so this is probably just a side hustle, and they're just getting experience. They're probably not very serious about their work, and the deliverable, meaning the end product, is going to reflect that. I've seen the work myself of a lot of people that charge next to nothing, and I'm telling you, you get what you paid for. Okay, I had like this last gentleman, the realtor that wanted me to do this $9 million property. He wanted me to fly my Avata from basically the water up 40 floors up inside the balcony and do the rest of the stuff and come back out. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Okay, one, because the winds and everything that affects the flight, and then number two, that alone is going to be in the multiple hundreds of dollars because that's a lot of practice that I have to do just to get it right. It's a lot of things I got to mitigate. And you know, if for example, like the winds pick up, okay, well I have to pack up and come back another day. Well, no, like I'm not going to do that unless you're willing to pay the right amount of money. I'm not going to do that. And you know, you have to be willing to pay the right amount of money because unfortunately, a lot of times in the drone industry, you see a lot of people just undercutting things. They think it's a toy. They think that, oh well, anybody can do this. And the answer is no. If you really want something done the right way, you got to hire a professional. And you know, these professionals are not cheap, and they shouldn't be cheap because we have to make a living out of this. So just please keep this in mind whenever you hire a drone pilot or drone service provider. Make sure that you get a realistic quote. And same thing, if you're a pilot watching this, make sure you charge customers the right way because I'm telling you, the more you undercut things, the more you screw yourself over, and you screw over everybody, and it just becomes a race to the bottom for most people. And we do not want. Next up, make sure that the drone pilot or drone service provider, make sure they follow certain safety guidelines and protocols. Because I've seen this myself many times. Now, this is something that a lot of times you might not see until like the day of, but you can always ask, okay, what safety protocols do they follow? Do they use visual observers, or do they do this or that, the other? Do they set up cones? Like, you know, like do they get a search of the area before they even fly? Whatever the case might be. Now, a lot of times it's not always going to be possible. You know, for me, I'm not going to lie. Many times when I'm flying real estate, I mean, you fly enough, you kind of know more or less what to look for. But you know, I look at the area. Okay, am I allowed to fly here? Cool. All right. What are some hazards? All right, awesome. And I start flying. A lot of this is done within just minutes instead of like, I mean, I'm not just going down the list and checking every little thing, but still, I follow certain safety guidelines. And for example, when I'm doing cell tower inspections and things like that, there I'm a lot more careful because I got to get very close to the tower and things like that. So just understand that. And the reason why I say this is because I've seen a lot of pilots, mostly unlicensed pilots, really do things that are very, very, very questionable in terms of safety. I mean, I saw a guy, he's flying a drone on one hand and he's taking pictures of an event on another, and he's getting extremely close, hovering directly over people with no propeller guards, nothing. Like, if this drone goes down, he's going to cut somebody. I know because I've been cut up by drone propellers before. It is not fun. I also saw one guy, I'm not going to call his name, but this one guy, he's flying a DJI Matrice 30, a very expensive drone, and he's flying it, and he just smoked weed like right before that. I know because I smelled it on him, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I've seen this myself, and you know, mind you, the guy was unlicensed. So this is the kind of stuff that you see sometimes out in the field, and you know, this is not the people that you want to hire as drone operators or drone service providers. Make sure that whoever you're hiring, they're actually serious about their work, because if you want serious work done, well, you got to hire serious people. All right? And this is something that not a lot of people know about, because they think that you're just hiring a drone pilot and they're just out there flying a toy around. That's not the case. They're flying an aircraft. Okay, this is an actual aircraft. This is an aircraft that should be registered. It should be insured. the pilot should take extra care to make sure that the aircraft is not going to cause harm to people and property. Okay, this is very important. So make sure that you hire the right people, because I'm telling you, it's going to save you a massive headache down the road, which you do not want. All right, last and certainly not least, and this is something that everybody needs to apply, but especially when you're hiring a pilot or a drone service provider company, make sure that you are realistic with your expectations. A lot of times what we see on social media and stuff like that, these are by very, very skilled pilots, very veteran pilots, and what they charge is not going to be cheap. Okay, so just make sure that you're realistic with that. I've had people make some outrageous requests and they think that it doesn't cost anything. I'm like, no, if you want all of this stuff, well, you're going to have to pay the right amount of money. Or somebody like, yeah, but can you do all these things even if I pay you the amount of money? I'm like, well, it depends, because certain things just cannot happen, okay? Or they cannot happen with the equipment that I have. So you just have to understand that, okay? And you know, whenever you're hiring a pilot, or you're hiring a drone service provider company, just make sure that you know what you want and make sure you're realistic, and go over it with them and ask them, can you do this? Because if they come on site, whatever, they do the work, and you don't like what they did, or it's not what you wanted, or just did not come out right, well, that's a lose-lose situation. Lose-lose for you, lose-lose for them. And for me, I try not to promise anything I can't deliver. But I always tell people, I'm like, look, what you're expecting is not, it's either not my skill set, or what you're paying is not the right amount for what you want. So just make sure you understand that. Okay, make sure that whenever you reach out to any drone service provider or whatever, you know what you want, but you're realistic, and also you're realistic on how much you're willing to spend. I see this all the time. I see a lot of penny pinchers. Please do not be one of them. Alright guys, so that is it for today. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Hit me one of these. Subscribe down below, and these videos will come directly to you. Is there anything that I missed? Is there anything you want to know? Please let me know, and I'll address it as soon as I can. Stay tuned for more, because I will be making more videos of this. If there's any topics that you would like to request, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll make a video. Alright guys, so that is it for today. See you next time.